think first and foremost, it's kind of a balancing act between generating mental toughness, belief structure, long-term planning. So I'm a businessman, so I was a business major. So I kind of I kind of run it like a business. So I kind of assessed where I thought Duquesne was, and then I came up with a strategic plan pretty much to how to fix it. And I'm trying to live by that plan, really. I guess I didn't answer that very well. It's kind of how I view it. So I looked at it. I looked at the strengths and the weaknesses. Obviously, we have to do a great job recruiting, first and foremost. Anybody that thinks it's about coaching is wrong. You have to have a good coach, but you have to have a coach that can get good players. So first and foremost, we had to have a game plan for recruiting better players, right? And then secondly, thank you. Secondly, we have to do a good job with the players we have of making sure we develop them and making them better so that they can compete at a high level.
You talk to those guys about how they feel you out a little bit, and get to know the new coach, learning your X's and O's, your personality. What's that like from your side? And how do you get to approach these guys, and how do you learn them?
Well, I think the biggest thing with anybody that's ever played for me is trying to figure me out. So, like, I'm probably one of the most easygoing people off the court that they've ever dealt with, and then I'm probably the Tasmanian devil on the court for them. I mean, so that's a little bit hard to understand until you've been with somebody for a while. Even if you look and ask LeBron, he'll tell you that I was demanding, I was nitpicking, I was hard on him. But at the same token, off the court, I try to spend a lot of time and give them a lot of love. So with this group, it's particularly difficult because of the 5 guys coming back, only one of them has had a really good career here. So I have to be hard on them, but at the same time, I have to make sure that they have belief in themselves because they're better than what people think. So I think that's probably the biggest balancing act for me. And then, just trying to teach the whole system at once, sometimes that's a little overwhelming for me because I'm trying to get a team ready for the first game, which can mean anything. It could mean you're getting pressed. It could mean you're playing against 1-3-1 zone. It could be hard man-to-man. It could be soft man-to-man. It could be doubling the post. It could be a variety of things. So to say that we're going to have everything in where we want to be on game one, that's a hard deal. But what we have to do is try to get better on a daily basis.
Keith, Mike mentioned that how you just said you're all in every game. It's to the point where like every little thing he's going to hear about it from you. How important do you think for him that is in his progression, given he is the guy who's coming home, who's had success last year, and not allowing him to become complacent?
Well, I think all good players, all great players want to be coached. And I think a lot of times coaches are scared to coach their best players, but I tend to hold my best players to the highest standard and probably coach them the hardest because they need that the most. So there's no question Mike Lewis can put the ball in the basket with the best of them. Now my job is to make him a complete player so that at the end of the day we win more games and he gets paid. So that's kind of how I view it, right? So it's good for him if he views it that way. If he gets sensitive and doesn't like the criticism, then he won't progress to the level that he should. But Mike Lewis is a high-quality young man. So he may not like it in the short term, but in the long term, he knows it's the right thing for him.
So far, how has he handled it?
Good. I was on him especially hard today, so if he answered the questions well today, then he handled it pretty well. But again, look, he's shown an unbelievable ability to put the ball in the basket. I've never had a guy score 14 points a game as a freshman. Never. In all my career. Maybe, LeBron as a freshman in high school, that's about it. But he only had 17, as crazy as that sounds. So to score that many means he's pretty good at what he does. Now my job is improve his passing ability, creating shots for others, making him a good on-the-ball defender, making him a good off-the-ball defender. Those are things I have to do with him.
You kind of like the guys, Keith, that, the reason why you're tough on them in practice is also because they struggled so much to close out games that we talked about were definitely winnable games. Do they understand that, and are they willing to learn and be able to close out those games?
So probably one of the reasons that I'm really difficult is I don't like the disrespect that Duquesne's gotten over the years. So I have this little chip on my shoulder where, like, I can't accept that Duquesne's not a well thought of basketball program. So I go out every day with this chip on my shoulder because I want Duquesne to be like it was when my dad was here. And I can't stand the fact that we got picked 14th, although probably we should have. It still bothers me, right? And so I come out here every single day with unbelievable energy because I can't stand it. And I want to fix it fast, you know, so that Duquesne never gets picked 14th again, or maybe never gets picked 13th or 10th or 7th or even 5th, right? So people will say, oh, that guy's nuts. But that's kind of what drives me is I can't stand it. I want it to be back, you know, to when Jarrett played and the Nelsons played and Billy Zoff played and Mickey Davis played. I never want Duquesne to have to go through this again, what they've gone through over the last 40 years. So that's why I'm so tough on everybody. And again, I'm tough on myself. I get up at 4:30 every day, right? I come in here and I'm ready to practice like I'm 25 years old again. And look, I can't say that over the last 3 years at Akron. I knew we were going to win every night, right? I worked hard, but I'm not working like I didn't work there like I am now because I have this. And when I started at Akron, I had the same chip on my shoulder then too because Akron hadn't been in the NCAA tournament since 1986. So I don't know, maybe I'm nuts, but I just want us to win sooner than later. I'm tired of it.
Can you tell the rest of the guys the rest of your guys kind of share that mentality? Like they can't stand it either. They don't like the way that last year went as well.
Well, I think, you know, obviously young people are different than old people, right? So they may not have that as big a chip as I do, but it's my job to make sure that they do, right? So it's my job that, you know, that we're all on the same page and that, you know, every day I hit them with, look, we were picked 14th. At the same time telling them that we're good enough to be better than that. And again, we have to have things go right. Like we've had some bad luck already with some injuries and that, but we're not going to make any excuses. We're going to win with what we have. It's period. And we have to be ready early. That's the bottom line.
You mentioned the heavy emphasis on recruiting earlier. How do you plan to approach it? Are you going to emphasize, you know, we talked about this last week, but the Midwest region where you have a lot of connections, where you know a lot of players, or is it going to be, you know, the East? Like how are you going to approach the recruiting process now that you're in a better conference than you were in Akron and maybe get a little bit higher talent level here?
We're going to think big and be big. That's kind of how we're looking at this thing, right? We have a big city. We have a big city program. We're going to think big. We're going to think championship level, and then we're going to be big, and then we're going to recruit in the Midwest. That's really where our bread's going to be buttered. And obviously, any good Western PA guy, we're going to try. We're going to do everything we can to get the best Western PA guys we can find. And then we're going to cherry pick the East Coast and wherever else we have to go, whether it's Georgia or wherever. We'll go where we have to go. But you have to have a base. If you don't have a base, you can't really win. So it's kind of dumb for me to go to Philadelphia where I got to fight with Phil Martelli and Fran Dunphy and John Giannini, you know, who've been out there for years where I've been my whole career in Ohio, Michigan. You know, I'm going to go where my bread's buttered, so we feel like we can do well in those states. And then we're going to recruit higher level players, higher character guys. If you look at every good pro team, they all have the best character. You know, you look at the Cavaliers, Golden State, San Antonio, or you wouldn't know it from the other day, I guess, but San Antonio, they all have the best guys. You know, you can't win with bad character. And I think that's something that a school like Duquesne should have good quality people.
Taryn mentioned that he had a second one right after the season. Have you seen, has he been 100%, you know, since you guys started working? How have you seen him kind of progress to work back?
He looks good. I mean, athletically, he's really good. Again, what I'm trying to do is try to make them understand how to win. But Taryn's one of the best athletes I've ever had at that position. And if you combine him and Renee, you really got some. Renee's a good player now. He's got a feel for the game, passing the ball, shooting the ball, penetration. And you combine both those guys, you have pretty good players there. So you have Mike Lewis, Renee, and Taryn. Got the good young kid, Eric Williams. So Eric James has done a good job, and Jordan's played well. So all the older guys have done a good job. Now, the key is going to be when the game is 70-68 with 3 minutes to play, are they going to believe they can win or not? That's going to be the key to the whole thing, because in the past they haven't. And do you have enough playmakers to win when it matters? So the key with that is, if you don't give up easy baskets when you're up 5 with 3:50 to play, right? If you make them work for every basket, you don't turn the ball over, right? And you get a good shot, can you make enough plays to win those close games? That's going to be the whole thing. We're going to be in a million close games, right? We don't have enough pop yet to just blow people out of here. And then the last part of that is we have to put people in the stands. Because if we don't win home games, we're not going to survive in this conference. And right now we have no competitive advantage at home because there's no fan base, right? So you go to VCU, you go to Davidson, you go to Dayton, like they have competitive advantages. You go to Akron, like we're going to win 90% of those games at home. We didn't lose at home because we had a good fan base. So that's going to be the thing. Can we get the chicken here before the egg? Like, we need to have people in the stands in order to help us win those close games. I think that's key.
How can you build to get people to come? I know you challenged the boosters, when you first were hired, what steps can you take to get more people to come?
Well, I think it's a group effort, but I think, look, at some point the coach can sit up here and say that, but he has to do his part. So if I have to go out there and shake people out of the dorms or walk around with a sign, whatever I got to do, I'm going to do. I mean, if I have to bribe them to come, I'll do whatever I have to do, because that's how important that part of the job is. It really is. I mean, if we don't have a good fan base, it becomes more difficult to win at home.
You got two bigger guys that are banged up right now. How did they look as far as, if they're going to be able to play, when you open? And if not, does that increase maybe expectations or limit margin for error for your other big guys, especially guys like Jordan Robinson?
So if we had opened the season right now with just Jordan Robinson, Cradholm, and Titus, we're thin. I mean, that's a hard thing to overcome. Chaz Brown goes to the doctor today to look at the foot again, so hopefully we'll get some decent news, but I'm suspecting that it's still going to be a couple weeks for him, and then Marco's going to be at least 6 weeks. And again, the hardest thing is not being able to practice. So now you're behind again. But Chaz Brown's a key guy because he's played college basketball. And then he's 6'9", and he's 245 pounds. So physically now we can just make it a tug of war with him and Jordan. We can make it a mud wrestling contest, really, which is how we have to win. I told him today, look, we're not going to win 80-74. We're going to lose most of those games because we don't have enough pop to get that many on a consistent basis. But if we can keep them under 70 or we can play into the 60s, we got a good chance to win. But we need that physicality in order to do that, because you can't play great defense if you can't protect the rim. And if you're small, it's hard to protect the rim. Simple as that. No excuses, though. We still got to figure out a way to do it. If we have to play 5 midgets, we'll play 5 midgets. I mean, simple as that. I'll play whatever which way I got to play. I mean, I don't have any choice.
Then with Jordan, what have you worked on with him offensively and defensively to make sure he's ready for
Well, first and foremost, we told him, look, you're a lot better than what you've done to this point, which is really nothing, right? He's really done nothing in his college career. He played 18 games last year out of, 31 or 32. And he averaged 3 points in 18 games. So if you average 31 into that, it's even worse than that, right? But again, style of play dictates sometimes whether guys are successful or not. So what we've told him is, look, we need you to be a pig, right? So every time you're down there, you need to call for the ball, ask for the ball, and you need to think score first, right? And he's done a good job. He's not all the way there yet, but overall, he's a guy that I think can do some good things. Now we got to keep him out of foul trouble, which is another issue. We got to keep him fresh, which is another issue, and then we got to make sure that when things go poorly, that he doesn't cave in. Because again, over the last 4 years he's been here, he hasn't had success. So But I think he's going to have a good year. I'd be surprised if he didn't. And if he has a good year, we have a chance to win. If he doesn't have a good year, it's going to be very difficult for us. We don't have enough low block scoring.
You had a good big guy at Akron, Johnson, there. He had the highest usage rate. I think he said 100 with simulated preseason and Jordan or something.
Well, we won on a consistent basis at Akron because from day one I had better big people than anybody in the league. So for 13 years I had better big people than anybody in the league, and that's 4s and 5s. And we had different kinds, but it started off with Romeo Travis, who's still a pro, who played with LeBron in high school, and Jeremiah Wood, who's still a pro, who were 6'6", 6'7", but they were good, right? And then in the middle we had Zeke Marshall, who's a 7-footer from Pittsburgh that was probably the best big kid in the MAC. We had Nicholas Vatinovich. And then the last 2 years we had Isaiah Johnson, Pat Forsythe. Those guys are all pros. So the bottom line is that's where we're a little bit light in the shorts right now. So that's why Jordan becomes so important. And that's the way I really like to play. I like to play inside out, which now makes your margin of error much bigger because you're not shooting jump shot after jump shot after jump shot. And now, with that being said, we were 8th or 9th in the country in three-point shooting. And had the most three-pointers made because the ball touched the inside, which puts supreme pressure on the defense. And now we're throwing out to good shooters. So I think that's going to be the key to our season is can we get it in there, can we take care of the ball, and can we play every possession defensively like it matters. I haven't seen it in practice. Like we get tired and we don't guard anybody, right? So that's kind of the mindset that we have to continue to work on. And when we start to see it more in practice, then I'll feel better about where we are. But they're willing; they just can't do it yet. It's mental toughness, conditioning. It's some physical disabilities and not having a lot of guys. But this is as hard as I've worked any team since my first year at Akron. I mean, long practices, grind practices. So it's not really the way I like to do it, but it's a necessity.
You don't feel like you're a young coach again? I mean, that process of
Well, let me put it to you this way. By the end of the week, I feel like I've been run over by a tractor trailer. So, yeah, I mean, it makes you better. I mean, paying more attention to detail, really trying to make sure that, that they understand exactly what we want. And we have a fairly complicated offensive system, pretty simple defensively, but fairly complicated offensively. So it's hard to get it all in at once. So that's what I'm a little bit concerned about is just making sure that that we have all the bases covered. But I feel good. I feel good, and just trying to get more workouts in so that I can make it through the whole season. Well, I like to come in about 2 hours before practice just to make sure that my mind's clear as far as practice goes. And we're used to having the 8 to 12 slot at Akron, and here the classes are a little tight, so we have to start at 10:50. So that means we have to start practice a little bit earlier. But the good thing is they got to go to bed at night. So, that's a good thing about it. I mean, but we're trying to correct that a little bit for the second semester. But I just don't like to just show up. I do my practice plan the night before, but then I tend to change it and you'd think I'd use the same practice plans, but I'd do a new one for every day. And I have every one for the last 13 years, but I still don't use them. So, probably nuts. Anything else?